It's that time of the day. It's the 4th Street Sports Show. Let's get it.
Welcome back to the 4th Street Sports Show, back in studio for the first time in 3 weeks. Last week, spring break for us, and then the week before, we had the guys in Pensacola covering the Sun Belt basketball tournament. In Southern Miss sports news, baseball dropped a series to Texas State. The basketball team lost in the first round of the NIT, and softball is in a slump. But first, I want to bring in our co-host here. To my left, we have got Dima Mixon. Dima, how are you today?
I'm hot. It's kind of hot in here.
It's a little hot in the kitchen right now, that's for sure.
And Austin didn't even show up, man.
Yeah, Austin, he is
finishing an assignment.
or he's at the club. We
don't know.
Sure.
Well, Nathan's here, so he's not with him.
Austin actually was clubbing in Orlando. If we wanna make jokes about Dima, we can actually say
there is
Austin.
no more jokes about me in the strip club after what happened.
No more jokes.
Pensacola.
What happened in Pensacola? For another day.
We'll leave
another
it.
day.
What happens there?
That's 4th Street after dark, right there.
Yeah.
But yes, we got Charlie Luttrell here as well, wearing a Hawaii shirt as always.
Yes,
styling and profiling.
Since it's 85 in here, it reminds me of the beaches of Oahu. Just sunny and breezy.
It sure feels
It
like
doesn't feel too breezy in here. I don't know about you.
I mean, we had the windows open, but we had to close them for obvious reasons. But yeah, maybe it'll get down to like 78 by the time the show gets rolling. And
For context, the thermostat I think is broken.
Yeah.
It's 85 degrees in here right now.
something happens.
We're dealing.
4th Street Sports Show is the hottest show on the radio right now. And then, as always, we've got the Nate Dogg doing the video live stream, the man with the plan. And we've got a packed show for you today, but we're going to jump right into our Eagle Eye. Dima, I believe you're going to talk baseball to us.
Yeah, let's talk baseball. Unfortunately for baseball, Southern Miss fell out of the top 25 after losing their opening series in the Sun Belt Conference to Texas State. I'm sure everybody who listens to the show kept an update with that, as I watched all 3 games. Friday's game, the classic pitchers duel. Southern Miss pretty much controlled the whole game. The 2 runs that Texas State got were kind of on a really weird play that Tanner apparently thought that there was 1 out, but there was actually there's 2 outs, so it was a ground ball to Tanner. He tried to throw the guy out at home plate, which ended up getting into a weird toss back and forth, and 2 runs scored. Regardless, Southern Miss won that game. Tanner Hall pitched well, but Cross Sibley came in and pitched really, really well. You'll be hearing more about him later, I'm sure, in our flower section. Southern Miss on Saturday, kind of the staple of the season so far. 10 hits, but only 2 runs to show. They had a huge moment at the bottom of the 6th, or top of the 6th. They had men on 2nd and 3rd with no outs, and they didn't get a single run in, which was kind of the difference in the game right there. Then Sunday's rubber match, just a terrible outing for the pitching staff in general. It says bullpen here, but just for the pitching staff in general.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime your starting pitcher's pulled in the 3rd inning, right? The 3rd inning, I mean, you're in for a long day. 13 walks, which is a season high. I had to look back. You put it.
Yeah, I couldn't see where the last time that happened.
Yeah.
I just found that the last time they allowed double digits was in 2019, so almost four years to the date against South Alabama, which is a team they've struggled with.
Yeah, and that 13 does not account for the hit by pitches too, which I think they had 2 or 3 of those. So, man, you're putting 16 people on base when you have a really good lineup in Texas State. I mean, this is a team that's picked number 2 in the Sun Belt. They call it Slam Marcos. But, I mean, Southern Miss pitching only gave away up 1 home run, but you can't walk that many people and expect to win a rubber match. But Southern Miss has a date with New Orleans tomorrow night. It is said to be sold out, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is sold out apparently down there in New Orleans tomorrow night. Southern Miss eviscerated them last time they played, 12-0. So we'll see if that is the same result tomorrow night. New Orleans did put 35 runs on
35-3.
35-3 on a team they played a week ago.
The night after they suspended that.
Oh, that's right. Okay. But then this weekend they'll return home for a conference series against Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern is 10-10, but they did host a regional last year, so still a formidable opponent for the Eagles. As the schedule, man, just doesn't get any easier at any point. So, because next Tuesday, you know who's on docket? The Ole Miss Rebels. So, but that's your baseball Eagle Eye recap.
Thank you, Dima. And for Southern Miss fans out there, it's not time to overreact just yet. Texas State's a really good team.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to win a series.
And they really could have swept.
Yeah.
I mean, they had opportunities in all three of those games.
They had opportunities. They were definitely good enough, but that's also like at least top 3 team in the Sun Belt, if not better.
I mean, that could be the title game.
Exactly.
So
it's not time to overreact
on the road.
Just yet. On the road, good ball club. But we're going to talk about softball now, and Southern Miss softball's competition has been ramping up, and they have not been able to respond just yet with a victory. The team is now 15-9 after dropping a midweek home game to Ole Miss and losing their opening conference series against the number 23 ranked Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. The Golden Eagles held a lead for the majority of 2 games against the Ragin' Cajuns, but they allowed a 9-spot Sunday in the final inning and 3 runs in the final inning of the opening match. Pitching has kind of struggled lately. I know Morgan Linestock was kind of holding it down there to begin, but it's kind of really the lack of depth, I guess, so to speak, is really catching up. And, these are kind of the struggles we expected this year. They started off strong, but it's more of a rebuilding year, I would say.
Man, and it comes straight off of that crazy week that Morgan put up.
Won 4th Street Player of the Week.
Yeah, won 4th Street Player of the Week, but I mean, that's something we were talking about, just the pitch count. She was almost up to 1,000 pitches at the season already, and they really haven't put Paige out there that much. I think they only played her a couple innings this week, so it's like besides Morgan, all you have is Jaina to pitch, and going against, give credit to Louisiana, they're probably a top 25 team in the country. They've got that merit, and they're number 23 right now, could move up. So definitely formidable opponent, and they were able to kind of stay in those games. They actually led through them, and the difference though was at the end of those games they kind of just fell apart, and I think lots of it is just that's just such a high demand for your starting pitcher. So we'll have to see, but it doesn't get easier for them.
No, it certainly does not, because they go on the road with a series at Marshall. They are undefeated at home and 22-3 on the season. But wait, there's more. They are on a 12-game winning streak, so certainly a tough road ahead for the Golden Eagles in softball.
Yeah, so other sports in action. Track and field actually opened their outdoor campaign, South Alabama Invitational, this week. They had 6 PRs and 5 first-place finishes. And beach volleyball, while a couple of us were on the beach, they were actually spending their spring break on the sands of Tucson, Arizona. So no beach there, so just sand volleyball, I guess. But they lost 3 matches there, one against Arizona Christian to stay above 500 on the season. And up next, they go to Baton Rouge for the 2023 LSU Beach Invitational with matches against UNO, Spring Hill, and 3 top 15 programs in Florida State, Washington, and LSU. That's really something we're seeing all across the board right now, is some really tough opponents for Southern Miss teams. Men's tennis lost their conference opener at Coastal Carolina, but the women's team also picked up a 5-2 win against Texas State. And both golf teams are actually back in action. The women just finished their tournament. I know Momoka Ando finished the top finisher for the Golden Eagles. She finished 33rd place, one of her best events of her career. And men's golf are actually just starting the All-American Collegiate in Houston, Texas today, and they'll stay playing through tomorrow.
Thank you, Charlie. And we're going to talk basketball here in a little bit. But first, we're going to have a little bit of a break. And right after this, we're going to talk about Southern Miss men's basketball season coming to a close in Birmingham in round 1 of the NIT. All that will be here on the 4th Street Sports Show. 4th Street Sports Show. It's hot, y'all. And speaking of hot, Southern Miss basketball was hot this season with an insane, unbelievable turnaround this year. They played their final game of the season in Birmingham on Tuesday in the first round of the NIT, where they would fall to the UAB Blazers. Dima, you and I were there, as well as Austin. Dima, just what was kind of your thoughts of the game and what kind of went wrong down the stretch?
Well, about the game, I think one thing that I was kind of telling y'all on the way to Birmingham was it just kind of felt surreal in a sense of like, okay, that Southern Miss loses to South Alabama in the Sun Belt tournament. Okay, then you have a week off, and then you find out you're playing on the road in a team that was picked to win Conference USA and a really, really talented UAB roster. You get on a bus the next morning and you're just headed to Birmingham ready to play that game. You don't know the status of Neftali. There's a lot of things you're just unknown. And Jay Ladner was even saying that in the post-game press conference. Like, we've only played one game in 17 days. And in basketball, it's hard to continue chemistry in that sense. And it felt like Southern Miss really did come out and play really well to start that game. I thought they were in position to win the game in certain areas. It felt like they were able to withstand certain UAB runs. You had UAB go ahead by 8, I think they're late in the second half, and then Southern Miss went on a quick 6-0 run, and it was a 2-point game or something at halftime. Mm-hmm. But then, the turnovers just got to them as they had towards the end of the season, with 30 points off of turnovers for UAB, and then 50 points in the paint. You're not going to win many games on the road allowing 50 points in the paint, and so it is what it is. But it doesn't take away anything from their season, and you can make arguments. Maybe if Neftali is out there, it's different. He can be on Jelly Walker more than Mo or whatever, or you can make that argument with South Alabama. There's a lot of things that you could make the argument on, but there wasn't a lot of Southern Miss fans that were like, "Oh, doggone it! This is a horrible season." It was an incredible, incredible masterpiece of a season that nobody. I was telling y'all when we stood on that court after the game. I said, "No," in the post-game reaction video, nobody expected us to be standing here right now. No. We're in the first round of the NIT. It just was an incredible season, and you have to give them props.
Yeah, I'm honestly just personally glad that got to kind of be a part or just cover this kind of season. Goes down as one of the most historic single season turnarounds in college basketball history, and that's pretty wild to say. And we were there to see it, just the whole total reset. You saw it, just the fans bought in just in one season. So even though we're all graduating, it's going to be interesting to kind of continue to follow this program and kind of see how they continue that. I think that's the big question now. Coach Ladner's busy going out recruiting the coaching staff right now, but they've also got a pretty good core to work with, still retaining a lot of the guys, and it's going to be exciting to see who they bring in. The transfer portal is open right now. Lots of guys hit the transfer portal. They brought in a lot of talent through the portal, so I'm pretty sure we'll see some new guys in there as well, and kind of continuing to build on what they've got.
Oh yeah, after the game, Jay Ladner said that going into next season, the main needs were a 4 and a 5. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely what he's going to attack, probably through the transfer portal as well, because that proved to be successful. But yeah, UAB was just a really good team. That was a tournament-worthy team, and with only a couple days' notice, that's just a tough draw, but still a remarkable season for Southern Miss in basketball. And we're going to talk more Southern Miss basketball here shortly, because we are going to be talking to the head strength and conditioning coach for the men's basketball team and soccer, the Southern Miss soccer team, Tony Brutofsky. We're going to welcome him to the show right after this. Don't move that dial. This is the 4th Street Sports Show.
on Southern Miss Radio.
Welcome back to the 4th Street Sports Show. It is 88 degrees in this studio. Seems to be a recurring theme, the hottest show at Southern Miss Radio. But it's time to bring in our very special guest. We welcome the head strength and conditioning coach for basketball and soccer at Southern Miss, Tony Brutofsky. Tony, welcome to the show.
How's everybody doing? I'm excited to be here. Appreciate y'all asking me.
Me too. We've always kind of wanted to talk from this perspective because we know that there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes that lots of people don't really talk about. So we're excited to kind of talk about that.
Absolutely. You've served here since June of 2021. Your previous experience, Southeast Missouri State, Louisiana Tech, and you even served as an intern with the New York Jets in 2016, just to name a few. Can you just kind of talk about that experience and what kind of led you here to Southern Miss?
Definitely. You guys did your homework because I don't know if that's in my bio anywhere.
LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn, baby.
These guys are legit. But yeah, my resume is pretty extensive at this point. I'm relatively young in the coaching world, but I got an early start. So I always knew what I wanted to do. I always knew I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach. I actually started college at the University of Central Arkansas. I played football there for 2 years. Decided to transfer back closer to home. I grew up in New Jersey, knowing that I wanted to be a strength coach. So once I stopped playing ball, I immediately inserted myself into the weight room. I was a volunteer strength coach my junior and senior year at East Stroudsburg. Little known Division II school up there, but they're big in strength and conditioning, which was my big draw to come up there because they sent people to a lot of places. They had people in the MLB, people working in the NFL, so it was very appealing to go up there and learn from those guys and girls and be a part of that. So after I graduated East Stroudsburg, well, right during that time, I was actually an intern at Ole Miss, so this is my kind of second stint in the state of Mississippi. I was at Ole Miss the summer of 2015 working for men's basketball as a strength conditioning intern. Finished that, went back to East Stroudsburg. They offered me the GA spot pretty much on the spot because they knew I had experience coming in and they wanted me to stay. So it was a no-brainer for me to stay. I stayed on at East Stroudsburg University, was a GA there. During that time, I was also an intern at UConn, and then I interned for the New York Jets, which you mentioned, which everything you thought it would be. Growing up in New Jersey, I actually grew up a Jets fan, so the opportunity to work for the New York Jets was a dream come true. The head strength coach at the time, Justice Gallick, he's a big mentor of mine, somebody who, welcomed me in, taught me the ropes of how to be a professional strength coach. Obviously, it's a little bit different than the college world just because there's a lot of money involved and big-time athletes, and, safety is absolutely the number one priority up there because I remember my first week up there, I was spotting a player, and I just remember thinking, I'm spotting $4 million right now. I mean, you can't mess this up. So you got to be locked in. And the biggest takeaway from working with there is everybody in that building was one of 32 of the best in the world at what they do. And that type of highly competitive environment was a place I wanted to be, and somewhere that pushed me outside of my comfort zone, because every day was game day up there. You had to be your best every single day. There were no bad days. It just wasn't allowed. You just had to make things happen. So leaving the professional world, coming back to college, just tried to take that mentality with me that every day is game day. Everything's really important. And then, make where you're at the professional level. Obviously, the college world has different restrictions and limitations on what you can do, what you can't do. But if you act like you're in a professional environment, then that's what it's going to be, and that's what's going to be like. And getting the players to buy in is the same deal, because they know you have that professional experience, and that's everybody's ultimate goal, is to get to the league, right? A lot of our guys, they have aspirations of playing in the NBA, or our girls want to play in the WNBA, or our soccer players, they want to play professionally here or professionally overseas. So they have that mentality. It's in them. So if you've been in that world, they want to learn from you and get that experience.
Yeah, just talking about getting those players to buy in. Something I've heard from numerous players across different sports is that the strength coach pushes them the most, but they're also their favorite. Personally, I probably wouldn't be a fan of the strength coach. Like, man, run here, lift here, but getting the players ready, how do you get them to buy in, and how do you build that relationship with them and getting them to buy in?
Definitely, no. That's a great point, because the weight room is a place where you get rewarded later, right? You put in the work now and you get paid later. It's not instant gratification. It's something that you have to do consistently over time if you want to improve. So to get that buy-in early on, you just have to explain to them what we're doing and why we're doing it, and how this is going to help you on the court, how this is going to help you on the field. Like, we're not just here to lift weights. We didn't bring you to Southern Miss to be a weightlifter, right? We want you to get bigger, faster, stronger. This way you can be more resilient. You could play longer. You could play harder. And then your skills will improve on the court or on the field. And then you'll reach your goals out there a lot faster the harder you work in here. But once they start seeing those early gains, it's like, you got them. I mean, they'll believe anything that you're trying to tell them, that you're trying to teach them, because they see the results, and that's what they want to see. They want to see results. They want to know that they're getting better. They want to know that the work they're putting in now is helping them in the future. So the earlier you could teach them, like when their freshman year, you come in, teach them, show them the ropes. Sometimes there's a little bit of hand holding just because you want to make sure they're doing things properly. But once they start seeing those gains, and they see themselves getting bigger, faster, stronger, to say less, it's kind of addicting. Like, you want to get better, you want to put the work in, and then those kids are the ones that start wanting to do extra because they know it's going to pay off for them.
You were part of the basketball team this season that everybody just kind of fell in love with. It was a wild season, as you heard us talk about just a few minutes ago. Can you just speak about what it was like just to be a part of that and being able to really be in there with most of those guys and helping them get prepared for each game?
Definitely. It was great, and, like you guys mentioned before, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work, a lot of things that the people didn't see this year. Because last year really started last March, with the guys that decided that they wanted to stay. So, next week we'll start back up training for next year. But taking it back a year, we had 7 guys in the weight room at this point in time last year. 7 guys that wanted to stay, that wanted to train, that wanted to put the work in. So that was kind of the core, the foundation, because we had 7 weeks of training before school let out last year. So that's some time to improve. So the guys were really bought in, because that they wanted to be there. Everybody knows the year we had prior, something that you were truly tested if you want to be here or not. So if you chose to come back, you were going to put the work in. So we worked those whole 7 weeks. Guys really improved. They got bigger. Their bodies changed, setting us up for the summer. The summer was kind of odd in the sense that we still didn't have a whole team yet. So the way college basketball works, we get the whole team back on campus the first week of June. So your whole roster is supposed to be there. Freshmen, transfers, whoever you got coming in, you're supposed to be fully loaded at that point in time. First week of June, we had 9 players. So we still didn't have a full roster. And every week we kind of added a guy, and maybe every 10 days or so, added a new guy here or there, transfer, a guy who had to wait to graduate, or things of that regard. Some overseas players, some international players, we had to kind of wait on them to get there over the summer. So it's kind of odd that, we were getting a new player every week. So trying to kind of build chemistry, or, that kind of bonding that happens in the weight room of doing hard things together It was a little different because we were getting a new player every single week. So the challenge for me was trying to get them up to speed because the returners already had 10 to 12 weeks of training at that point in time. And we had a guy coming in wherever he was coming from, kind of in a detrained state, looking for a new school, not training with the team, maybe working out on their own at home. But trying to get them up to speed was the biggest challenge of this year because I've never had it kind of a shotgun start as we did this year. But it was kind of refreshing because the guys came in hungry. Whoever we brought in came in hungry, ready to train, ready to work. And, we worked our tails off all summer to prepare us for the fall. And we just kind of kept building, tried to build some momentum, win every single day, kind of stack good days. We said stack good days together. We didn't really want any bad days or any strings of bad days. So that all started back last March. And, shout out to the guys that stayed, that put in the work, because not many people knew what was going on or what our future was going to be or how good we can be or who our identity was at that point in time. But all we knew was to work. So we just worked hard and put our head down and just kept building from there.
And with your experience, you probably, know what works, what doesn't. But during that time period, where everybody's trying to, turn things around in the program, how are you trying to improve the strength program and just, help those guys out?
Definitely. That's a great question because I actually changed up what I did this year in season. So a typical in-season model, you train in the weight room 2 days a week. You're trying to prepare for games, keep guys fresh, obviously try to maintain strength. But you kind of taper down the days in the weight room as you get closer to the season. So the off season we'll train 4 days a week, preseason 3 days a week, in season 2 days a week. That's a pretty standard college model right there. But this year, coach was looking for everybody's best, and I knew that there was a better way that we can do things. And this is something I've wanted to do for a while. I just didn't have the resources to do it. It's called microdosing. The person who inspired me is Corey Schlesinger. He's the head strength coach for the Phoenix Suns, and he's really big on what's called microdosing. So instead of having 2 lifts a week, about each one being 45 minutes to an hour, you do what's called microdosing and you break it up and you're lifting every single day. So we lifted every day this year. We had 122 lifts this season as compared to what would have been 54 if we did it the old model. So our lifts were only 15 to 25 minutes every day. We were kind of in and out. That was their warm-up before practice. So we come in, do some mobility, do some activation work, do our strength movements, do a little extra stretch, and then go straight to the court. 15 to 25 minutes every single day for the entire season. And I just think it's a way better model because it allows us to do more over time. So by the end of the week, we're still getting our 2 hours plus of training. It's just easier for them to recover within the day, day to day, week to week, month to month, because basketball season's a long point in time. We're in season for 25 plus weeks, and that's, half the calendar year right there. So the majority of your time spent in season. So that training in season, you could argue, is the most important time of year. Everybody will tell you, off season is the most important time to train, and yeah, that's when you'll make your most gains. But in season, you're in there the longest point in time. You might have an 8-week block over the summer or in the fall, but the longest uninterrupted training block is in season because it's usually about 25 weeks plus, depending on how far you go postseason. So I kind of changed up the way I did things, and I thought we had a lot of success with it. Guys felt really good. They were able to keep improving strength throughout the entire year. We actually hit our highest squat numbers in season than we did at any point in time during the off season. It was just a gradual progression. So every week, we'd kind of progress our intensity and keep the volume low, but make sure the guys are staying strong, staying fresh. And they liked it because they only had to lock in for 15 to 25 minutes in weights and then go practice, because it's tough going from an hour weight session to a 2.5 hour practice. Guys get hungry, they get tired, they get sore within that day. It's just an easier way for the guys to recover between sessions.
That's pretty interesting. I think I've seen stuff from the Suns. I think people were making kind of fun of them, like doing stuff after games too.
What's awesome, they actually bring a squat rack out on the court. They bring weights to the court. They have, they travel with it, which is cool because they put it straight on the court. But they'll, like you mentioned, they'll do a lot of strength work after the game, which you say, hey, you're probably tired, what's this, that, whatever. But the way Corey explains it, it makes a lot of sense. You want to keep your high stress days high and your low stress days low. So obviously game day is the highest amount of stress you're going to, receive during the week. The stress of the game, the fast action, the fast pace. So let's keep that whole day high. They'll hit their strength work after the game, so obviously it's not going to take away from the game that just happened. They'll hit what they have to hit. Obviously they're not going in there doing super high volume. They'll just maybe do a single or a double at a heavy weight or something, do that, and then they could keep their low days low. They can keep the off days off, Because if you got to come in and train the next day or on what your off day is supposed to be, or recovery day, you never have a recovery day, because every day is a high intensity day at that point in time. So if you're going to keep your high days high, keep your low days low, this way they can rest, recover, travel in that sense, and not have to worry about doing that type of stuff.
So you kind of talked about like this philosophy, microdosing, but a lot of coaches have come on here and talked about fitting the work, the programs to the individual. Is that something, you prioritize, or, how do you tackle trying to, each case, each player's case?
Absolutely, and that's why I love working with basketball, because the roster size is pretty small. So we'll have 15 to 16 players, and then I have a staff that works for me. I have a GA, and I was lucky enough to have 2 interns this year. So we had 4 strength coaches in the weight room for 16 players. So that's a 1-to-4 coach to athlete ratio. And I like everything to be individualized, hands-on. A good example, I train men's and women's basketball and soccer as well. We'll have basketball players that range from 5'4", which would be on the women's side, to 6'9" on our men's side. So completely different body types, completely different needs, and we all use the same equipment. And that's kind of what trips people up. All the strength training equipment is the same, but it's not built for everybody. It's not, made for our 6'9" guys with the 7'1" wingspan. They don't take that into consideration when they're manufacturing barbells or other types of strength equipment. So that's a big challenge, but it sets the guys up to be successful. So we're going to give the guys or the girls what they need, essentially. So a great example would be, I mentioned our main lower body strength movement was squat this year, and we would have 4 different types of squats going on at the same time. We'd have guys front squatting, guys back squatting, guys goblet squatting, and guys doing rear foot elevated split squats. So a lot of different stuff going on, but it fit the need for that player. So we do look at it on a case-by-case basis. It's not a cookie-cutter program. I don't just post it on the wall and say, hey, here's today's workout. Every player gets their own lift card with their name on it, and it's individualized to them. I'm not saying I write 15 or 16 different programs, but there might be 15, 16 modifications within that program, right? We all still need to train for strength. We all need to train, train to put on size if that's one of our goals, but the way we get there might be different athlete to athlete, team to team, kind of depending on what their needs are. Previous injury history is also a big one, because nowadays we get a lot of transfers. Some older guys, 3rd year, 4th year guys who've been through strength and conditioning programs, they might come in banged up or have had a surgery in the past, and that's something we try to figure out early on. This way we can give them the best movement for them to set them up for success, because ultimately they came here to play ball, right? They're not here to lift weights like we talked about earlier. But we do individualize things as much as we can. Sometimes we'll split the room. I'll be with a certain type that the heavier load guys, the guys that are squatting 4 or 5 plus. I want to be there and make sure I'm spotting that. And then I'll have an intern with the guys squatting with dumbbells, or the girls squatting with dumbbells, or things of that nature. So we do try to make it individualized to the player as much as we can.
Right. And we got about 30 seconds here, but you're obviously looking at the big picture here with basketball and soccer when you're training these players. Is there a player from each sport that maybe stuck out to you that said, hey, that's really impressive? Somebody that really went hard, maybe exceeded expectations in a weight room.
Man, we have a lot of those players actually from all 3 of those teams. I don't think it'd be fair to them to name just one, because I do think we have a really good culture in the weight room over there. Over in the Coliseum, where we train men's basketball, women's basketball, and women's soccer. I think it's a place that our players want to be, and they want to work hard because they see the results. I can name off way more players that work hard than players that don't work hard. So to answer your question, I can't just name one. That's a tough question. I know you want me to. People ask me all the time, but I just don't think it's fair to all the players that do it, because I can't name just one that separates from everybody else.
I think that's the right answer, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Tony Brutofsky, the head strength and conditioning coach for Southern Miss basketball and soccer. Thank you for joining us, Tony.
Thanks a lot, guys.
I do, before we cut off, want to ask, because it's a big question right now. When's the beard coming off?
Oh, okay. You asked it.
Yeah, I had to ask it.
People want a date. Since I'm on the air right now, I'll say it'll be gone by next Wednesday. How about that? A week from Wednesday, it'll be gone.
Wow. So enjoy it on YouTube. Enjoy it right now.
Week from
last
Wednesday.
time you're seeing it.
There we go.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Thank you.
All right, we'll name our 4th Street Player of the Week and much more after this break. This is the 4th Street Sports Show.
gentlemen, it's that time of the show. We're now giving flowers.
It's that time of the show back here on 4th Street Sports Show, doing a little Austin Lindsay impression, who is sadly not here. We've got the flowers. This is the flower section, brought to you by University Florist and Gifts on Highway 49 in Hattiesburg. There's going to be a very special someone getting these flowers. The contenders today: Danny Lynch from baseball. He had 4 hits and 4 RBIs in 4 games. Good week for Danny. Cross Sibley. He pitched 3 innings against Southeastern Louisiana. 3 strikeouts, no hits, no runs, and then closed it out against Texas State. 3 1/3 innings pitched, 3 strikeouts, 2 hits, also no runs. Good week for Cross. And then we have got women's golf. Charlie.
Momoka Ando, like I said, finished 33rd place, top finisher for the Golden Eagles at their Mountain View Collegiate. So good event for her. And also Kanaya Seals finished first in the 100-meter race and 3rd in the 200-meter race at the South Alabama Invitational.
All worthy contenders here. Good weeks by all 4 of those players. Is it time for a drum roll?
I think it's time for some ice.
It's time for some ice cream. Yeah, I'm getting ice cream.
And the winner and 2-time 4th Street Sports Show Player of the Week, Cross Sibley. You are this week's 4th Street Sports Show Player of the Week.
Good job.
A 2-time winner.
True freshman.
True freshman,
Wow.
first year at Southern Miss. He's really turned into the anchor of that bullpen when they need strong outings.
He's been the only consistent player.
He really has been.
Maybe besides Billy.
He may have had like a shaky outing like his second one, but overall, like,
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the percentage. This guy's passing with an A.
Yeah,
if
is
you
that
were to
like
grade
funky arm action?
Yeah.
It was just hard to hit.
They can't touch him. They don't win that Texas State game without him. Just unbelievable performance. You deserve these flowers, Cross. And elsewhere,
Oh yeah, I'll take this one. We usually don't talk about recruitments,
No.
but I've been doing a little track and field coverage outside of here, and I got a couple weeks ago. I got to see, when you go somewhere, you just see people that like stand out. You're like, this person's top of the pack. There was this one guy, and he actually committed to Southern Miss. His name is Maximus Littleton. He's inside the top 5 in all 3 of the jump categories in the state, leads all jumpers in the high jump, and actually earned Field Performer of the Meet Award at the Southern Miss High School Invitational that they hosted a couple weeks ago. So probably impressed the coaches there.
Yeah.
So I mean, we might start highlighting some more incoming recruits, because definitely have some really cool talent, really good players coming to Southern Miss right now.
absolutely. And former Southern Miss cornerback Cornell Armstrong recently re-signed with the Atlanta Falcons.
Nah,
They're
we're
signing
happy for him.
everybody.
Yeah, they are.
But good for Cornell. He had 33 tackles and 7 passes defended in 9 games last season. I know Nick Mullins also re-signed with Minnesota, so he continues to be the best quarterback on that roster. No disrespect, Kirk Cousins, but anyway, we want to give
All the disrespect.
That was
Yeah, I mean,
blatant disrespect.
he's better than Dak Prescott.
They could start Nick on Monday nights, and
Yeah.
That's what you do. You got the new nightmare, and then
New night.
all right.
anyway.
Shout out.
Shout out to the top performers at track this week who finished first in their events. We've got Dylan Evans, Jared Williams, Omar Austin, Kanaya Seals, and Sophia John. They all grabbed first place, so congratulations to them. And
I'm gonna have to bring y'all. I'm gonna be Charles last year. Charles went to the Southern Miss track meet. That's coming up. I think. I don't want to say next week, but it's sometime soon. I think we gotta stop by track and see what it's all about. I'm actually honestly liking it.
As long as they have some ice
resident-
water.
You're our
Yeah.
track and field guy. It seems like every Saturday you're at a high school event or a
Yeah,
college
it's
event.
been really cool. Austin actually, if he was here, would tell you he ran track. So I mean, there's a lot of multi lots of multi sport athletes in high school that play track. or do track. So it's been cool to see.
He's not Harry's at the strip club.
He might have been the only good athlete they had at Jim Hill at the time.
Oh no!
God. I think he'd be better at track than the Dallas Cowboys are at football.
Probably. I think he was on the football team, and George
He
County
was.
was not good, and we destroyed them twice.
Little George County bias over here.
I had
if
my
you don't see
jacket
it.
on, but it was so dadgum hot.
It is 90 degrees.
We we're about to go, but it is actually almost 89 in here. So
Yeah, it's hot in the kitchen.
I think it's affecting our brain power at this point.
Yeah, maybe next week we can get it to like a nice 68 degrees. It's
Yeah.
probably too cold anyway.
I would much rather that than this.
Absolutely.
I kind of feel bad for Tony. He was in a jacket.
It was.
Tony said he liked it though.
Yeah.
Tony
He
said
liked it.
likes the heat.
He probably likes the sweat. Let's be real. That's the grind.
Yeah, he
so to
likes
speak.
it.
But anyway, that's it here for the 4th Street Sports Show. On behalf of the Nate Dogg, Nathan Lee, Dima Mixon, Charlie Luttrell, I am Jackson Howell. This is the 4th Street Sports Show. We'll see you next week.
Come back next Monday at 5 on Southern Miss Radio. 4th Street Sports, baby.